You're listening to Getting Real with Real Estate with Danielle Kempf and Jim Kempf, St. Louis's favorite father-daughter real estate team. With honest advice, local insights, and stories from the real world of real estate. Because smart real estate decisions start with real conversations.
All right, looks like we're rolling. Rolling for another podcast.
Got another one.
Yes, we do.
In the books.
Yep.
Well, almost.
It's a hot day in St. Louis today.
It is a toasty summer day in St. Louis.
For sure. But it's time for a podcast.
And we're in the podcast booth.
So that means we need to have a joke. You have a joke today?
I do have a joke today. You ready for it?
I guess, yeah.
It's a dad joke.
Do I have a choice?
They're always cheesy.
All right, let's go.
All right. What do home inspectors use to write their reports with?
To write the report? I don't know.
Well, some of ours use, an iPad. Some of them use a foundation pen.
A foundation pen.
Like a fountain pen.
As opposed to a fountain pen. Got it. That's funny.
Yeah,
good
kinda.
Stuff.
We're running out of jokes on Google. If you know any good house-related jokes, send them our way.
Yeah, that might help actually a little bit. That'd be kind of good. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about inspection stuff. Building inspection stuff.
Yeah.
Fun topic for sure.
Kind of a scary topic.
Sometimes it can be
for
our
some
buyers.
People. It can be.
It can be, but it's really not that scary. And then I'll give the big disclaimer here.
Oh,
real
we
quick.
do need a big disclaimer.
So we are not home inspectors by any stretch of the imagination, but. I've been around for a little while. Danielle's been in the business for a long time. So we've seen a lot of stuff, right? We've seen hundreds of inspections. And, you kind of have a pretty good feel for a lot of stuff. But
and you're a homeowner and you're an investment person, so you maybe have a little bit different of a spin for someone who's buying like their second home or like a downsizing home where you can do a couple more things. Mm-hmm. You're a little more handy than like a first-time home buyer. Sometimes we just don't know what you're getting into. You just don't quite know what to expect.
Right.
So we'll give our two different kind of our 2 cents on some different points of topic here.
Yeah, we're going to even, kind of go through like an inspection and talk about some things that came up, typical kind of stuff or whatever.
Yeah, things that inspectors call out.
Yeah, and what I was going to say was, it's just kind of, I don't know, some of them are, what we try to do, especially with our buyers, is like we don't want to see somebody buy a house that's a bad and ends up being a money pit kind of house, right? Yeah. So we tend to focus on the big scary stuff for people, right? Mm-hmm. If it's
the things that would keep you from buying the house or moving into the house right away, those big kind of ticket items where you say, those got to be done before I ever think about moving in.
Yeah, or maybe I don't even want it kind of
sometimes
things,
we see houses and when we show our buyers, again, we're not inspectors, but we try and point out things that we see in the houses.
Right, sure.
But, we always miss things. We're humans. Or, sometimes there's things you just can't see right away. Yeah. What's happening under the sewer lateral or radon, even though radon's a pretty minor thing. But there's things we can't always see right away.
Well, of course. Yeah. That inspectors do. And so, anyway, so we'll kind of get going and we'll talk about just, again, some kind of things and give you our 2 cents on just some thoughts on like if you were a buyer, should you ask for that to be repaired, not repaired? Is it big, bad, scary, or whatever? So what's the first one you got? What do you got there?
All right, well, first I'm going to say if you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to put up pictures for you. But if you're listening just kind of online, we'll kind of talk over what we're seeing. But
kind of try to describe it for you.
Yeah, we'll do our best too.
Right, exactly.
All right, so with most building inspectors, they're going to start, they don't always start outside, but they're going to look at your house from the roof all the way down to the foundation. Inside, outside, open windows, test outlets. They look at everything, and their job is to point out all the things that they note. They see not necessarily wrong.
Sometimes they put stuff that's right in the house, right? Yeah. They give you
just general home maintenance tips.
Yeah, it's what it really kind of amounts to is it's a good indication of the condition of the house on the day of that inspection. Right?
Yes.
Exactly what they found.
Exactly.
So,
they can't predict if the basement's going to flood in the next 3 rains or anything like that. And I like to you always have a good analogy of, it's like buying a used car.
Right.
There's going to be a dent, there's going to be some scratches, and it's not perfect, but you want to make sure the alignment's right, and I don't
big
know
stuff,
things about cars.
the transmission and the engine run, right? That's you want the important stuff. The cosmetic-y kind of stuff is not
the tear in the leather is not as big of a deal.
Yeah, exactly. So
all right. So we're gonna start outside. So this inspection report, they started outside, and the first thing that they noted was the driveway. It's concrete. It's a concrete driveway.
Yeah.
And concrete does two things: it cracks and it eventually cracks.
That's correct.
Learned that from you.
Two guarantee. There's actually third guarantee.
Third?
3 guarantees about concrete.
What's the third?
It's going to crack, and nobody's going to steal it.
Fair.
That's typically, yeah. I mean, I guess somebody could, but, whatever.
They're trying really hard to steal it.
Right. So cracks in concrete, is that a big deal or not a big deal? Depends, I guess, on how bad it's cracked, right? Yeah. One thing that is important with concrete, is you want to seal cracks and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't get a lot of water going under the slab because that can make it
That's
move.
When it's going to start settling.
Right. Go ahead. You were going to mention.
Oh, and I was going to say, kind of in all these things that we're going to be talking about in the inspection, a lot of times if you do it kind of right away or maintain it, it's going to be a lot less expensive maintaining it over time than it is repairing it.
Yeah,
so the crack in the the concrete, in time, like Jim said, water can settle under it and eventually it can settle even more to where it needs to be mud jacked.
Right.
Again, kind of more of a home maintenance sort of thing, depending on how bad it is. But the cracks here, they're not bad.
You're probably not gonna ask somebody to pour a whole new driveway in a house. That's kind of the one thing that is kind of important. And if you'll scroll down, is like big offsets though.
Yeah.
That can make a difference. And what we mean by big offsets is where you have like two slabs laying together, and if one has sunk a little bit or one has raised, and you got like a trip hazard.
Yeah.
Now that can be kind of important. So that's something there that might be something to consider. But in the grand scheme of things, issues with a driveway like that tend to be more of a home maintenance kind of thing than something that you want to ask a seller. Oh, hey, replace a driveway. That's a lot of money to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right? Or kind of like how Jim was saying, if it is a big enough offset, sometimes even occupancy will call them out on that. If it's a big enough trip hazard.
Yeah, that can be. Yep. So. What else we got in there?
Oh, but then kind of like in this picture right here, you can kind of see where it meets the garage. And so there's a little bit of a step up. Is that common? Is that some settling? Because over on this side...
That's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing we're talking about.
But it's fairly common to see.
Yeah, it can be, right. When you pull your car in the garage, you got a little bit of a bump there, right? Mm-hmm. You'll notice it when you drive over it. Again, is your car's going to roll over it fine. If it's an inch or something, it's not a real big deal. But again, it's something you would kind of look at and monitor over time and make sure it doesn't get any worse. Mm-hmm. If it were to get bigger, you would look at maybe mud jacking that front slab there or something like that.
Have someone come evaluate it a little bit further.
Yeah, for sure. Perfect. For sure.
Nothing really wrong on the porch.
Yeah, a lot of things.
This is a good one.
This is kind of a neat example. So the house that we were looking at here it had brick veneer, right? So that's just a frame constructed house with a 3/4 of a brick wall essentially on the front, half of 3/4. You guys have seen it, and that brick veneer in the inspection report, the inspector mentioned that they thought the wall was leaning. Right, which can happen. I've seen brick veneer walls that have come off of the wall a little bit and do lean a little bit and actually loose to the extent where you can push on them and it moves. Right, so that's obviously not a good thing. In the case of the building that
our subject
property here, right, it was kind of noted where there was a window next to this brick veneer. Mm-hmm. It looked like it was moving. When they had a structural engineer go out and look at it to evaluate the integrity of that wall, and really what had happened was the window, when it was installed not plumb. So it had a lean to it. So it made the wall actually, it's kind of more of an illusionary effect, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So really nothing wrong, just that the window was kind of put in a little cockeyed.
Yeah. But you can even see here there was, some cracks in like the silicone. So that's something that you want to do. Just caulk that up just to keep it watertight. So there isn't
some separation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Right on.
But that was a good one. And if, there's things like that a lot of times that, especially with the foundation, sometimes just your general building inspector, that's, maybe a step above kind of their scope. So as structural engineer, we have recommendations for that. And we've had to have structural engineers look at houses for even some of our buyers.
Sure.
Because we just want to protect them. That's a bit,
sure.
Your whole house sits on your foundation.
Right, right, obviously. Yeah, so a general building inspector, as Danielle kind of mentioned there, when they look at the house, right, they're, again, going to tell you what it looks like that day. But they can't predict the future either, so know that. But they will, in a lot of cases, when they see something, recommend that a professional, for example, stuff that looks like mold or something, right? Have a mold inspection done, or air quality, but or the structural engineer, something like that we did on this property. It's a little bit beyond what their normal normal job entails, if you will, right? They're not structural experts necessarily, so.
Or like mold, we can look and see it's maybe a mold-like substance, but until you have it tested, you can't.
Right. You don't know for sure.
You can't know for sure.
Right. People see stuff on walls, anything.
Wrappers.
If it's something black on a wall, everybody, oh, God, it's got black mold. Not necessarily, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to test it. We don't know that unless you test it.
There's mold everywhere in the air.
It looks like it maybe, but yeah.
But anyway, we digress.
Yes, we do digress.
All right, back to the report. All right, so here is a beam kind of coming out from the soffit. It's on the roof line, and it's a little bit deteriorated.
Yeah, it's an exterior. It's I don't know if you've seen them in the past in houses you maybe drive by, but it's really a decorative beam, right? And it looks like it's supporting the whole roof structure. In the case of the property here, the beam had no structural anything to it. The house was
fully
built.
Decorative.
It was totally decorative. The roof structure was supported by trusses, and so this was just decorative. Now, it did have some weathering, right? Water deteriorates wood over the years, right? And the house is probably 50 years old, 60 years old, whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's gonna happen. Sometimes you get insects that do that, but wood boring insects, carpenter bees that'll bore into wood, and it'll make it look bad. But if it's, you have to determine, is it a structural problem or is it just a cosmetic problem? In this particular case, it was nothing but cosmetic.
Yep.
A little wood putty and some paint, and you're good to go. So
Exactly.
just that's something to be very cognizant of, though, as you're inspecting homes.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of this stuff we're trying to, like Danielle said, we're trying to make this, something to where we're looking for the big ticket stuff for people to try to protect you. What we're kind of talking about.
Oh, and here's a common one. I feel like a lot of things we see, especially on the outside of homes, is vegetation or like gardens, greenery growing too close to the house.
Oh, yeah.
We see that a lot. Even like mulch. Yeah. So in this one, you can just kind of barely see that poured concrete foundation above that brick veneer.
Yeah.
They always say, or at least our building inspectors always say, you want to keep as much of that original poured concrete foundation visible.
Yeah, you always
because if you
that.
have a bunch of mulch pushed up against it or a bunch of heavy bushes against it, termites love dark places, and they'll kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, they create their little tubes and they burrow up into the house, and then they can get into your wood floor joists and everything there.
That's correct. Yeah.
So always kind of don't have your bushes too close to your house. Kind of take it easy with the mulch.
Just don't pile it up real high.
Yeah.
It is that can be a big problem.
But I think that's something we see on most building inspections.
See it a lot. Yeah.
And again, it's just good. That's a home maintenance.
That's a home maintenance
go do
thing,
some
right.
yard work. Unless you have a house or a condo more so where you don't have to deal with the yard work. But on a house, you're going to have some landscaping to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's
Oh, then here's the roof.
Looking at roofs, that's
Roof's
a big
one
now.
Thing now.
That's a huge one now.
You want to talk on that for a second?
Well, yeah, I mean, hail damage, obviously, right? We're
in
know,
St. Louis. We had how many storms this spring?
We've had a million of them, it seems like. So you always, again, roof is a big, that's a big ticket item for a house, right? Obviously. Your inspector's going to walk that roof and look for hail dings, right? Evidence of damage, which is like dents in vent covers. You can see hail blemishes on shingles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's what your building inspector is going to look for. So when they find that stuff, and every roof in St. Louis has hail damage, unless it was put up last week. They pretty much, if it's more than 6 months old, it's probably got some hail damage on it. So again, though, the you're looking for still the integrity of the roof and how much damage really that is, right?
Yeah.
Because is it important or not? And it really can vary. Sometimes the damage is significant enough where the seller might need to file an insurance claim, right?
Yeah.
And potentially get a roof replacement. And a lot of times we'll have to bring in roofers, right, after a building inspection and really get a professional's opinion on how much life that roof still has left, right? So
just kind of like how we said with the structural engineer, sometimes you just need to have that, expert come on in to kind of either verify or give their own input too.
Yeah, a roofer can look at a roof and tell you, hey, it's got 5 to 7 years left, or whatever, 10 to 20 years, whatever. So they can give you a lot better. And the other thing about that too is they know how to deal with insurance companies. So based on who the homeowner may have for insurance, they'll know if the damage is significant enough to justify filing a claim for. So a lot of people just tell you, file a claim. Don't do that. That's not what we recommend at all. But have a professional roofer look at it and let you know, because that's really the important thing. So, but that's very, very common stuff.
Yeah, especially like Jim said, especially with the storms that we had recently here in St. Louis. It's something that comes up a lot on the houses we're seeing.
Every one of them. Almost.
Yeah. So now we're going to head inside, and I'm going to kind of skip down to the basement because, again, talking about big ticket items, we always take our buyers down to the basement first. It's where the scary stuff hides because we're looking at things like the foundation, the HVAC, the water heater, those sorts of things. So we're going to jump on in, just kind of look at this building, the report for the major systems here. And I think it's kind of neat. So most building inspectors, they have a lot of handy tools on them. They're kind of like Batman with their belt.
That's true.
So this inspector, they have like a temperature gauge, kind of like what they were using during COVID. They'd put on your forehead, or like, I guess people who grill can use it on their meat there. But they turn the air down. They'll get the AC running, or if it's hot or cold, they'll get the heat running just to make sure that there's a drop in the temperature difference. Right. And so I always think it's kind of cool when they have the thermostats, the digital thermostats, that you could tell that cold air is actually blowing out of the vents.
Yeah, there's certain temperatures that it's supposed to be from the coil to where it's kicking out of your vents, right? There's a temperature difference that it should be, and they'll tell you what that is and how cold the air is coming out of your vents and all that. So it's just good information to know if your system's running well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when like an air conditioner, if it starts getting low on Freon, which is a common thing, they do sometimes develop leaks and they lose a little Freon, and they don't run as efficiently as they might. That can damage a compressor in the worst case, or it can be just kind of a minor nuisance thing. You just have to get it charged a little bit yearly or something like that. So, but again, here's a big ticket item, right? So having that building inspector look at those, if he notices any discrepancy in that temperature, and it's maybe outside of the range it really should be, that's obviously a good thing that you want to make sure that and what we would recommend to our buyers in a case like that, hey, let's ask the seller to have that equipment checked by a professional. Right?
Have it serviced and
make
clean.
Sure it's running good, clean, all that good stuff, so that when they walk in the house and unpack, it doesn't break the next day.
And how many times have we heard that story?
I've heard it a million times, yeah.
All right. So this one had a radon mitigation system. It appeared to still be working. The buyers did not do an additional radon test to make sure. But usually once they're working, they still keep that suction. But it is a good idea if you're buying a house with a radon mitigation system. I don't remember how many years. Was it 5 years, 3 to 5 years? They recommend kind of
Retesting,
retesting just to make sure the systems, are properly functioning, holding the suction there.
Yeah. Radon is still a concern, I guess, no matter what. So there's a lot of personal preference when it's involved with radon, but for take that as you will. But it is, if it's a concern of yours, it's definitely worth getting tested. And if it happens to be, even if it has a system, probably not a bad idea to test it anyway, just to double check yourself.
Double check.
Yeah.
For your protection there.
Yep. Electrical panels are big things,
panels.
Right? That can be kind of a scary thing. Building inspectors will pull the panel covers off of those and look at the wiring in there just to make
It's crazy.
There's some common stuff in there that double lugging, where people put two wires on one circuit or one lug of a breaker or something. That can be dangerous. Some people tell you it's not a big deal, but just something you really probably shouldn't do.
Some things we've seen rust in the panels, water got in it from the outside or maybe inside, and there's rust in it.
Yeah, that can be kind of dangerous as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump to kind of,
if you have knob and tube or fuses with it, your inspector is going to tell you all, what you need to know about living with a house like that. Or even there's difference between aluminum wiring and copper wiring.
Yeah.
Just differences you want to know as a homeowner.
Right. Not scary necessarily one way or another, but there's some differences, you're right, and how you should handle that type of stuff.
Yeah,
so it's very important. So those are always good things to really keep your eye on in a building
and those
inspection.
are the big ticket
That's
things.
A big thing, yeah.
There's other things, make sure that GFCIs are in proper places. So kitchens, bathrooms where they're near water, the outlets are near water, you want to make sure those are GFCI protected.
What does GFCI stand for?
Ground fault circuit interrupter.
All right. Good job.
I got it.
I kind of thought you were going to mess that up, actually.
I had to look at the acronym. I knew most of it. The C, the circuit interrupter, I had to think about, though.
A lot of people just call them GFIs, but that's what I do. But, anywhere, any place, here's how a good way to think about it. If you're outside or if you're standing on concrete,
so
that's a
your
garage,
unfinished basement,
that's an unfinished
garage.
basement. Any of those outlets should be GFI protected. And then Danielle mentioned water and all that stuff, of course. So that's important. That's a really common thing that we see.
Yeah.
Now how dangerous is that really? Honestly, I don't know. But that's a simple kind of fix for things. You know, that's a $15 or $20 outlet, and you can change them out pretty simple.
Yeah.
So, or an electrician can change them out pretty easy.
Yeah.
Under permit if necessary.
Yeah. Another disclosure there.
Yes.
Something else your building inspector is going to do. They're going to run water throughout the whole house. They're going to flush toilets, run your dishwasher, run your sink, make sure your shower pressure is good. They're going to do all that. But what they're really looking for is any leaks. Leaks underneath the kitchen sinks, leaks under, maybe on the main stack that might be leaking there.
Yep.
All those good things. They're just going to test that. And again, it can be fixed. Pretty much anything. We always say anything can be fixed for the right price.
Right, anything can be fixed.
But there's some things that,
Some things are bigger issues than the others, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it. Like if you have an old cast iron stack that's got rust holes in it, that needs to be addressed right away.
Yeah.
And that's fairly expensive, right? So if you have a little drip in a faucet, or a faucet, that can be replaced very simply. Plumbing underneath say a bathroom sink or something, sometimes you might find a drip there that you just have to tighten the connections and you're fixed.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of take Right.
Can you watch some YouTube videos, figure it out? Are your parents, or do you have some handy friends that can kind of help give you some guidance?
YouTube videos, you'd be amazed
for so many people.
You'd be amazed at what you can fix after watching a couple good YouTube videos. I've done it myself. That's how I've learned to do a lot of different things over time. So you'll get some homeowners, they need help changing a light bulb when they buy the house, but believe me,
in time you'll learn.
For sure.
But I mean, and sticking with time, that was just such a quick kind of rundown of some of the things that I think inspectors look at. Are there any big other ticket items that you want to maybe mention?
You just as you scrolled there, you're looking at appliances and stuff. Obviously you want to make sure those are working properly when you get the house. An inspector will, he'll just flip the stove on. Mm-hmm. He'll check the oven. They do all that good stuff for you. Obviously if there's a problem with some of that stuff, those are things that can be fixed. And those
you can always talk with the seller about that.
Yeah, those are that's kind of in my mind, that would be kind of a no-brainer. Hey, if there's a couple burners that don't work, that's something you got to deal with because that's everyday living life that you can't, that's hard to do.
Exactly.
So I guess the moral of the story is, as if you're a first-time home buyer or second-time home buyer or whatever it is, as when you do building inspections, right, you're doing that for your protection, right? We want to make sure that the house you're buying is a livable, good quality house. It's not going to be perfect though. No. There's no such thing as a perfect house.
Even the new builds.
Even a brand
new house.
That could be a whole nother podcast, honestly.
We can do
but
that.
Brand spanking new construction
has issues too.
Yeah, it's not perfect. Stuff happens. So. Sit down with, as you're buying a house, you sit down with your agent, you go through those, and you have to really determine what's the most important things and, negotiate any kind of settlements that you may have there. But that's, something that's very important for sure.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, as always, just feel free to reach on out to us. But we'll be back with another podcast shortly.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, folks.
See you later.
That's it for this episode of Getting Real with Real Estate. We hope you learned something new, had a laugh, and feel a little more confident in your real estate journey. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Kempf Team for local insights, listings, and a real look at what it's like behind the scenes in real estate. Have questions or a topic you want us to cover? Reach out anytime at 314-336-1926. And don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or YouTube so you never miss an episode.